All right, is South Carolina losing a top recruit? Is LaNorris Sellers staying? Is Dylan Stewart staying? Is one of them staying, which means the other one would stay? And the latest on offensive coordinator rumors as well. We've got a ton to talk about as rumor season is well underway. Locked on Gamecocks starts right now.
You are Locked On Gamecocks, your daily podcast on the South Carolina Gamecocks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, guys? Welcome into Locked On Gamecocks. I'm your host, Chris Marler, the host of Locked On Gamecocks, a part of Locked On Sports Podcast Network, the number one sports podcast network in the country. We love to talk about it. We love to celebrate the wins. We got a great show for you today. It is signing day. It's the end of early signing day. A ton to get to. Before we do, I want to give a quick shout out to our friends at FanDuel. Listen, guys, if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com. Place your NFL live bets all season long. I referenced this at the top of the show. I don't even know what to name the thumbnail. I don't know what to name the title of the show yet. There's so much to get to. And I want to start by saying what we're going to talk about and then also explain to you exactly what point of view we are coming from. So I am not someone that is, I'm not texting Beamer, but there are people that I talk to that I trust around the program that have given me information throughout the season. And most of it, I believe, has been pretty factual. Talk to them today, and some of the comments and things that are coming out, I don't even think they're that big of a surprise, but there's a ton of just speculation, rumors, and other things that are unfolding. There's things that happened during signing day today that I was hoping you'd see some flips, maybe, a couple of big name players from around the program that may or may not have been committed to Michigan for a very long time. Some other players you were hoping might have come into the fold. The running back out of Florida, Carson Baker, supposed to name with a Y for some reason. All of these things. Didn't see any of those come to fruition today, but you did have speculation that you might lose Landon Duckworth, the starting or the potential starting quarterback down the road. Top 150 player in the country, Elite 11 QB, massive get for this team over Ole Miss, who now, as you may have heard, Lane Kiffin is the head coach of at LSU, former head coach at Ole Miss, and LSU desperately needs a quarterback in this class. Of course, they started talking to Duckworth, and Duckworth is trying to figure out where he's going to go. That's all up in the air. We'll have more clarity on that as the week goes on. So we're going to talk about all of it. I will start by saying this, and I don't feel like this is me being negative or salacious or overreaction. I can be those things. I can be overreaction. We all know that. I don't feel this is that, but I will say this. It feels like we're in the middle of a seesaw, and it feels like there are some things or like a balancing wire. And it feels like there's a couple of things that are starting to shake the wire a little bit. And you're trying to get, like remain stable, but there's just a couple of things that keep happening. And it feels like if one of these dominoes goes a certain way, it's either going to help stabilize it, or in my opinion, I worry that this whole thing is going to come falling apart at the seams. And I don't mean the program. I don't mean like I mean, you went 4-8 this year. It's like, it's not like there's that much you can sit and be like, oh, no. Like, there are things that you can do to turn the corner in this offseason. But it very much feels like if a couple of things don't go your way, you could be in a bad situation where it gets far worse than it gets better. Now let's get into the show. I know it's a very long build to the show. I want to start with the Landon Duckworth situation. So Landon Duckworth, quarterback out of somewhere in Alabama. I can't remember exactly where, but he was between LSU, between Ole Miss, and between South Carolina. He picked South Carolina back in June. Massive pickup. I've talked to you guys about this before. I think South Carolina has one of the best quarterback rooms for the future of anybody in the SEC, maybe the country. I mean, just from a star standpoint only, right? Aaron Nolan's a former 5-star in some books. Landon Duckworth was a top 50 player at one point during the offseason. I think he's top 150 right now. According to the composite, he's 132nd in the country. He's the 10th best quarterback in the country. Offers from all over the place. And it was very much a race between Ole Miss and South Carolina. Ole Miss obviously had Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin's at LSU, and he's trying to make a splash and figure out his staff and all these other things. There's so much uncertainty around LSU right now. Is Frank Wilson going to stay on it as head coach? Is so-and-so going to commit? Is Lamar Brown going to stay on this top recruit? What they do have that South Carolina doesn't have is an offensive coordinator. And Landon Duckworth trying to figure out where he's going to go, I think, is a direct result of that lack that South Carolina currently has. Like, if you have an offensive coordinator in place, there's a lot more things you feel stable and confident in to be able to pitch to recruits, pitch to players, and pitch to everyone else about where this program is going and what your plan for it is. Now, Bieber did his whole thing today that he always does. He went in front of the media. He did the whole thing. We should be preparing for an SEC championship game right now. And it's like, brother, I love you. I feel like I defend you a lot. Please shut up. Please just shut up. We're not even close to preparing for an SEC championship. Like, he made the comment that when we won that game here against Virginia Tech, I expect to be coming back here. Just please stop and focus on how to get this thing better. But as of today, Duckworth was one of the few players that hadn't signed. Sequel Patterson was one as well, but he ended up signing later. He just had a later ceremony at his high school. So that was not a concern. But one thing that Duckworth is going to want to see, I don't believe it's just an NIL back and forth. I don't think that at all. I think that it is very much like, well, let's see here. If my two options are Lane Kiffin at LSU or South Carolina coming off a 4-8 season without an offensive coordinator and all this unrest, if I'm the one that if I made part of my decision on committing to Shane Beamer, that's a tough sell. Like that's a tough sell right now. You need to go figure out what he's going to do. Now, I will tell you my gut feeling on this. My gut feeling on this is, and I had this confirmed by my person who said that that's an accurate sentiment, which, you know, anytime I react emotionally, I rarely get someone that agrees with me. So that was a good look from for me to hear from him. So my reaction to this was this. You hear on signing day, I'm living over here in enemy territory. I'll be honest with you guys, I already made the flip, you know, commit flip graphic ready to post to the site. Assuming that Landon Duckworth's going to commit to LSU. Now, the longer this thing played out and continues to play out, it makes me feel like you have weathered the storm a little bit. And if you can figure out what you're going to do at offensive coordinator, or at least have him listen to what you're going to do and not rush into a decision until you've made that, the longer this thing plays out, the more I like South Carolina's chances. Now, if we are being honest, and I think we're being objective, if you're a quarterback, where would you rather play? Under Lane Kiffin or at South Carolina with the struggles they've had? I say all that to say you can turn that around if you hire an OC, and especially if you hire the right OC. So the way this Duckworth thing, I think, is going to play out, from what I was told, let me make sure I pull this up to make sure I'm reading it correctly. What I was told was the Duckworth, like there's an expectation that Duckworth could recommit. They don't know the date, but there's a timeline in place that I want to start before our first segue. I want to get to and what we're going to talk about for the rest of the show too. There's a expectation that he could recommit, even though he hasn't decommitted technically, to South Carolina. He wants to see the OC hire. The OC hire is hoping to be made on December 10th. That's a week from today, next Wednesday, December 10th. Sellers should have a decision in place where he wants to go on December 15th. That would be the following Monday. And the rumor is that the coordinator they're going after is a Power 4 coordinator that will not be involved in the college football playoff. So, not a G5, but a Power 4 coordinator that will not be involved in the playoff. And they are going to make not a money grab, but they're going to throw some money at this guy, hoping he comes here. Now, when we come back, I'm going to tell you what else I have heard and how the news outside of the Duckworth stuff about another quarterback, LaNorris Sellers, this could be the biggest domino that could fall in terms of weathering the storm, stabilizing the ship, whatever cliche you want to throw. And if LaNorris comes back based on a couple other things, this whole thing could get turned around pretty quickly. We'll talk about it next when Locked On Gamecocks continues. Before we get into that, I do want to give you guys a quick shout out to our friends at FanDuel. You heard me brag about it at the top of the show. Love everything they're doing. And I tell you what, NFL Sundays, guys, I mean, gosh, like the college football season's already over. NFL season, I don't even know what week they're in. I believe it's like week 13 or 14. But NFL Sundays move fast. And one big play, suddenly everything else feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift, a receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, all the momentum flips in one fell swoop. We've seen that before, Carolina fans. After a turnover, FanDuel lets you jump in the moment. They have live spreads, the money lines, all those things that adjust instantly. Player props update as a guy heats up. You can bet next touchdown scores, drive results, if someone's going to punt, someone's going to score, something in between, and more. It keeps you locked in to every snap, every drive, and every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your live NFL bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. Locked On Gamecocks continues right after this, guys. All right, let's get to the big stuff. Because I mean, Duckworth in the recruiting class, I want to retouch on that a little bit later because it's not a done deal yet. They're still ranked top 20, I believe. Earlier today, when I looked at this, they were around 20th in the country, which is about where they always are. That's fine. They only have 14 commits, which is the lowest, I think, it's tied for the second fewest of any team in the SEC. And they're hovering right around when they always hover, which is fine. Now, this is the other thing I was told today, and let's just get right into it. The dates that I gave you, we should be getting a date on the offensive coordinator's decision by next Wednesday. Sellers should make his decision by Monday, December 15th. Those are solid things, okay? There are rumors, and again, I want to be very clear. This is someone I trust, but as you guys know, anything can happen in the world of college football. The portal hasn't opened yet, which I think is a huge plus for South Carolina. It hasn't opened yet. You talk about all the things that you like last year. This thing, like the calendar is still really bad, but last year you heard this, like all the misery of trying to deal with all these things where it's like you had people opting out of final games, bowl games, because the portal opened right this week. Then you had conference championship week and early signing day. Then the portal's open as you're trying to get ready for the playoff or anything else or bowl games, all that kind of stuff. The portal doesn't open until January 2nd this year. But there are obviously two names that South Carolina fans are waiting. I don't want to say with bated breath because I don't want to speak for everybody. I personally am waiting with bated breath to see what these decisions are made. Maybe three total as well. LaNorris Sellers, number 1, Dylan Stewart, number 2, and Nick Harbor, number 3. But the first two that I said are massive. And I have told you guys this before. This is like out of my own probably frustration, but also speculation and assumption. It feels like we just have to be better. Like we have to be better here in terms of developing quarterbacks and committing to being able to develop quarterbacks. Like that's the biggest thing. I think there's been a disconnect here from off field to on field, especially with Shane Beamer, and that is the idea that LaNorris Sellers was so good he would be able to cover up the inefficiencies and ineptitude of some of the decision making at the offensive coordinator position this year was wrong. Like LaNorris is a phenomenal athlete. He might not be a great quarterback, and I don't know what happens if he returns another year. But I will tell you this: if you can put people around him, we've seen what he wants to do. And this is also a kid that spurned a lot of places last year. Auburn. I personally think Duke was another one, but I know Auburn for a fact offered him 2.7 or was it 2.5 or $2.0 million to LaNorris. And I remember reporting that on this show last December. People thought I was crazy, but that happened. Okay, that happened. If LaNorris spurned him then, it's a lot different than this year because last year you had a lot more to look forward to, and we all know how it worked out this year. I've said this before, and I'll say it again, and if he left to go somewhere else, there's no part of me that blames him. Now, I hope he doesn't, though. I hope he stays. That decision comes in a couple weeks. It could also be a literal domino effect on if he stays. The Dylan Stewart thing. Let's see here. Dylan Stewart's decision could be made based off of what LaNorris Sellers is going to do. Now, believe that they can keep Stewart if Sellers stays. This is what I was told. You make a good OC hire. You figure out what to do with LaNorris. And if he stays, there's a good feeling that Dylan Stewart stays. What that tells me is a couple things. One, this has been in flux. And it shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. And I know that we're all pulling for South Carolina and we're fans and all that kind of stuff. And there's a lot of you listeners, and I'm so thankful for all of you. There's a lot of you that listen to this that grew up just like I did. And like pulling for a team that you love and you want people to love this team and you don't want players to see it leave. But if we're being objective, in this age of football, it's understandable if someone left. Now, I hope he stays. And if he stays, it could be a massive, massive catalyst into what this program can build. And like, you can sit here and roll your eyes. You can say, I'm just saying this to get excited. And maybe part of that's true, man. Maybe part of this is me being so beaten down all season and so frustrated all year, having to watch the same crap every single week and see our hopes from the start of the year just absolutely dismantled by October. Like, maybe that's true. But also, I keep throwing this word out there, being objective, I think I'm accurate here. If they get an OC and Sellers stays and then Stewart stays, you've got two massive pieces that you probably weren't counting on coming back earlier in the season or later in the season. And that's huge. Now, the other thing I was told was this. He says the stuff with Sellers is also him conversing with the staff of positions or potential players. I think it's probably more positions of what they need to target in the offseason. Before anyone gets mad, this is all speculation. Before anyone gets mad that Sellers is trying to dictate the team, do you blame him? If I'm LaNorris Sellers, I'm marching into Shane Beamer's office and I'm saying, listen, and you might not want to hear this, but I'm going to tell the truth here, okay? If I'm LaNorris Sellers, I am marching into Shane Beamer's office. I'm saying, listen, I love this place. That's why I stayed. I'm from Florence, South Carolina, 70 miles down the road. Got a hell of a Buc-ee's there. I want to be at South Carolina. This is my home. I want to build something at South Carolina. That's why I stayed. But if you don't keep my ass upright, if you don't figure out a way to not have me running for my GD life for every single potential minute of every game, you remember the stat I told you about the LSU game where he had 19 rushing yards and he ran for 894 yards on the field? Like, if you don't go get someone to keep me upright, I am not staying here. Don't go get me a fifth-year guy from Wake Forest or I'm just throwing a fifth-year, sixth-year senior from an FCS or HBCU or a G6 or whatever other acronym you want to throw out there. I don't care. Keep my ass upright. We have maybe the best young receiver core we've seen. Do you remember earlier in the year when I had Chris Doring on this show, who played, he's the second leading receiver in the history of this conference in terms of touchdown catches, played for 5 years under Steve Spurrier, knows the position, knows the game. And he said to us, man, there's a couple of guys on here, Brian Rowe especially, that guy's like Devontae Smith. They got a recruiting class that it's not as talented, but it almost reminds me a little bit of that 2017, 2018 Bama class, which was like Waddle, Henry Ruggs, Jerry Jeudy, Devontae Smith. Like, I don't expect this group of freshmen to win 2 Biletnikoffs and a Heisman and have 4 first-round picks, but that's high praise coming from somebody that knows the sport and covers the damn conference pretty well. So if I'm LaNorris Sellers, I'm saying this is what I need. Go find me a tight end that can block and also catch. Please go get me a running back that maybe just an additional one, because we definitely need one, especially with what we lost in the recruiting thing. But more than anything, please God, go get me a offensive line that'll protect me. Josiah Thompson's going into year 3 and should be better. Darius Gray signed his papers. He is coming to South Carolina. Casey Henry was great when he played. He was the highest graded player they had on the offensive line. I need a center. I need a right guard. You know what I mean? Like if it's not already on the roster, which it clearly wasn't, this is what I need. Maybe go get me a receiver that can catch so I don't and not fumble the ball like Jared Brown did. Love Jared Brown to death. But like I'm with LaNorris on this one, man. And I tell you what, if you're Shane Beamer, you cannot let that. What's the old phrase that maybe it's, I don't even know if it's offensive. I don't think it shouldn't be offensive. I'm not using it in an offensive way, just to be clear. But that whole phrase, the inmates are running the asylum type thing, where it's like you don't have control over the program. Like you don't need to have that. But what you do need for sure is if your best player and one of the best players that's ever walked through the doors of this program says, listen, if you put this around me, I will stay. Right? If you put this around me, I'll stay. Because here's the other thing, guys, and I don't want to get misconstrued. I've said this before. You cannot give LaNorris Sellers, like, you can't let him go make the hire for you because he's only going to be here for one more year, right? Like, ideally. So you can't have that happen and then make your entire program based off of this one guy. But here's the other part of it, too. LaNorris Sellers, despite what happened this year, considering everything else around it, he is going to help you win football games. And I know that it's very easy to throw away that notion because of what just happened. It's also a guy that, was 9-4 the year before. Like, you've seen what they can do if they have an offense. So I don't think it's something that doesn't benefit the team if he stays. I know for a fact Dylan Stewart helps his team win. And this is a player that that Shane Beamer brought up today that said he was playing basically with a broken back the entire year. Didn't need surgery, just needs rest. But he was playing with a broken back or something similar to it for most of the year. We've seen what that kid's able to do. You got to go find more of those. And now I know that's a hard thing to do because they don't grow on trees. Like, I mean, those are two of the best athletes at their position in the country, regardless of what the outcome was this year. But you got to go find more of those, right? Like, and if Sellers staying, if your offensive coordinator decision helps make Sellers stay, which then makes Dylan Stewart stay, what you do have is two things. And we'll talk about that when we come back. Locked On Gamecocks continues right after this. All right. I teased this before the break. It really wasn't even a tease. I think I just got kind of tired of, I just been talking probably too much a little bit, even though that's the whole name of the game. I said this before the break, though. With LaNorris Sellers staying and then Dylan Stewart staying, it gives you two things. One is positive momentum. And that's something this program needs desperately right now. Desperately right now. The other is now you've got two guys that people want to play with. They want to play with that person. And you're going to have some turnover from this offseason. But Dylan Stewart is a guy that people are going to want to. Another defensive end is going to want to come in here, and they've already got some good defensive ends on this team, in this roster. But another defensive end is going to come in and say, oh, man, I line up on the other side of that? Or a defensive lineman. I'm lining up next to Dylan Stewart? Like, so all the attention this offensive line is going to put on that guy, and then I just have to go win a one-on-one battle? I like that. Like, and then in the other part of it is you're on an offensive line or a running back or a receiver or a tight end that's going to play for a new offensive coordinator and potentially with one of the best projectable players, highest ceiling players in the country. And I know we're frustrated, man. I know we're frustrated with LaNorris, and I know we're frustrated with how this season went. But do you remember how good those 6 games were in a row the year before? Do you remember how good he was against LSU? Like, he wasn't a world beater this year, But my God, how bad was Mike Shula? And what if you go out, and I want you to hear what I'm saying here. I want you to really hear what I'm saying here. Think about what your thought was about LaNorris Sellers before this season. Because I don't think the ability went away. I think him being comfortable with Mike Shula was like, okay, well, I mean, like, dude, that it was a disaster. It was a disaster. Offensive line, disaster. Like, I will never forgive some of the things that happened with that coach and some of the decisions made before this year or during this year. But you've seen the good. Like you've seen the good. And I don't mean like where he's going to project the NFL. I don't care. It's just not my focus right now. You've seen the good. I would be willing to bet you that whatever offensive coordinator they go get, I would be willing to bet you that the quarterback that guy currently has is not better, more talented, or more physically gifted than LaNorris Sellers. I'm telling you, I think that you're scratching the surface, and the surface was lowered a lot this year under Mike Shula, and he did not play well. I'm not making excuses for him. But I'd be willing to bet whichever guy they bring in here, who inevitably will have much better numbers, a much better pedigree, and a much better effing offensive identity and game plan than what we saw for 9 games under Mike Shula, whoever that person is, I would almost guarantee you he didn't have a quarterback that's more physically talented than LaNorris Sellers. Now, the name that I have been told, and we're going to close with this, because I forgot to bring it up earlier. We'll do a whole other show on it. But the name that I was told is Jason Beck from Utah. It is a name that has been floated around a decent amount. He is currently at Utah. He's a younger dude. This is a guy that went to Utah under Kyle Whittingham, long-time tenured coach, finally makes a change at the OC position. He was at New Mexico before that. They were 4th in FBS at 484 yards per game in 2024. He also figured out a way. They were 5th in FBS in rushing offense at 253 yards per game. I mean, like it was, the numbers were incredible. Now I'll make sure I look this up real quick while we're here. But I'm telling you right now, if you can go get this guy who is kind of in the middle of nowhere out in Utah, and maybe he's from out there, maybe he wants to say, I don't know. But you're in the Big 12. There's not a ton of things from a stepping stone wise that you can do in the Big 12. The SEC is where you want to be. I want you to hear these numbers from where I'm coming from, okay? In 2024, before he got to Utah, they averaged 23.6 points per game. 23.6 points per game. Now, if that sounds low, it's because it is. It's horribly low, and it was ranked 102nd in the country. In 2025, and again, South Carolina this season ranked 104th, averaging 22.7. But anyway, they had 23.6 points per game last year in 2025. Utah this year, we look at Utah and think, oh, that's a defensive team that, they don't blah blah blah. 6th in the nation in FBS at 41.1 points per game. That's almost double what he had the year before. 18 points more per game this year versus last year. You look at what their offense was able to do. This year, they averaged 478.6 yards per game. Last year, they averaged 330. Now, if that sounds familiar, it's almost exactly what South Carolina was this year under Mike Shula. 330 yards per game. Then you go to this year, 478 yards per game. An increase of over 158 yards per game, which means right around a 50% increase, basically. Go get him. Go get him. Oh, and by the way, who is his quarterback? Devin Dampier. Devin Dampier, does this kind of sound familiar? 64% completion percentage, dual threat guy, threw for 22 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, had over 2,000 yards passing, had another 700 yards on the ground and 7 touchdowns, finished up with 29 touchdowns total. It's only 5 interceptions, and nearly 3,000 yards of offense in just 11 games. Does that skill set sound familiar? Go get him. Bring me Jason Beck right now. I almost said Jordan Beck, which I'm pretty sure was a childhood friend of mine, like 5th grade. But don't bring me him. That guy was terrible at football. Bring me Jason Beck. Bring me Jason Beck. Let's figure out how to keep LaNorris and then figure out how to keep Stewart. And for the love of God, those 3 things in a row would mean something that hasn't happened all season. Momentum and a winning streak. That is what I think they should do. On tomorrow's episode, I am going to get a more in-depth breakdown of who Jason Beck is. We're going to talk more about his numbers, his stats, all that kind of stuff. This is the name that I was told. Not the guy from ODU, not like the East Carolina guy. That was, John David Baker. That's a guy that I think a lot of people were very high on. So was I. But also that looks to be like where he's going to end up at Ole Miss. Because I know that Charlie Weiss is going back to Ole Miss for the playoff, but he is 1,000% the LSU offensive coordinator, has signed the deal. I can confirm that. Go get Jason Beck. Go figure out how to keep LaNorris. Figure out how to keep Dylan Stewart. And let me just close with this. Okay, hear me out on this. There's got to be part of you, as angry and frustrated as you are, there's got to be part of you that thinks, well, LaNorris comes back, like, whatever. But if I told you LaNorris coming back meant that you got him and Dylan Stewart, if I told you one meant both, would you sign up for that? Because I know I would. All right, that is all for today's episode. I appreciate you guys. I hope you had a fantastic Wednesday night, Thursday morning, whenever you're listening to this. We'll be back tomorrow with another episode. We'll talk about more signing day stuff, and then also Jason Beck, not Jordan Beck, my childhood friend, but shout out to him wherever he's at. And until next time, guys, go Cox.